Hello everyone, welcome to episode 1-2 of Retro Encounter, where we play through chapters 1 and 2 of Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. I'm your host for today, Josh Curry. With me is Marcos.
Hey.
Peter.
Hello.
And Davi.
Hey everybody.
So what did everybody think? Chapters 1 and 2 are actually in the thick of things, we're actually rolling.
Yeah, I think we all kind of experienced different pacing problems as we went on.
The combat is so slow.
Yeah, I really wish there was a button for auto-attacking.
Mm-hmm.
This game really makes me appreciate what Bravely Default did.
Yeah, just being able to fast forward everyone's battle animations would be fantastic.
Yes, that would help a lot. I always think of with Final Fantasy Tactics, there's times that I just needed to grind through. I'd literally just come in, I'd push triangle, and the whole battle would go, and I could just grind out some items, grind out some experience. That would be a godsend in this right now.
But actually, I'm finding with Trails in the Sky though is that once we got past a certain point and we started getting more abilities like area of effect spells and stuff, that's when the combat really opened up and I started having a lot more fun with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I'm playing any of the first encounters of anything, I find to be a huge puzzle, trying to figure out, and you're starting to have to deal with weaknesses on enemies, and that was it was like a flaming squid pot thing. I don't know what it was called.
I remember those.
And I had used the firebolt or whatever the entire first 20 hours of the game, whatever it was, and all of a sudden it wasn't working. It was like I thought the game was broken. I was like, this is not. I was just starting to like almost wipe on these measly one person on the screen. I was like, oh yeah, there's fire on the top of that. I probably shouldn't shoot fire at him.
Well, they have the little grid thing, like the scan information when you highlight the enemy too.
I think isn't that though if you have the orbital? Or...
I don't think so. I think I think that's just a basic game feature.
Oh. Then I obviously don't pay attention.
Yeah,
I actually don't know what that. I actually don't know what that ornament does. Like, I haven't equipped one. I should try that.
The scan one?
Yeah, I haven't. I don't think I have one equipped.
So I have it equipped. I'm not sure if it does anything in battle. I obviously haven't been paying attention for that. But it puts the enemies on your screen for your map, which then I just use it to avoid all the enemies when I'm walking around.
Oh,
Eagle Eye?
yeah.
The Eagle Eye or quartz?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. But when you finally get the Haze Quartz, then life becomes incredibly more manageable.
You can pretend you have a Moogle charm.
Yep. Just walk by, nothing to worry about. Avoid battles.
So I guess that kind of tails into one of the things I want to talk about. Have you guys actually been fighting the random battles?
Absolutely not.
I gave up.
I actually do because for the early portion of the game, I wasn't really paying attention to opening slots. I was just getting quartz, and then I realized maybe I should actually start opening all the slots. And I realized that I was short, either a win, like Cephas or whatever they're called, or something else. And it actually became like a little bit frustrating when I got to a region and there was only one monster that gave that Cephas, while everything else gave you like a lot of blue or red or time. And I was like, oh, this is killing me.
Yeah, and it's also a little. I'm kind of torn on the way they pay out Sepith because, like, killing one guy on a Sepith upturn is like the equivalent of killing 10 or 20 of him normally, you know?
Yeah, so I've given up on all of that. Just flat out given up. I don't think I've fought a random battle since probably the prologue.
I'll go and do the side quests that are to kill a big scary guy, and that's how I get my levels. But yeah.
So I've given up completely on everything. I only do the main missions, and then
Josh, don't do that. You have friends.
And then if there's a main boss that it happens to be in my walking path, I can be literally walking and look down and be like, I don't want to turn off my direction, and I'll keep walking past it.
Wow, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's bad. So skipping way ahead, but chapter 2, I saw that there's both a bunch of side missions and a bunch of secret side missions when you're setting up for the play.
Yep.
Didn't do a single thing.
Yeah, chapter 2, I gave up on side quests at this point. The first time I played this game, I somehow got max BP, did every quest, and I beat the game. I feel like if I did that now, I would hate myself.
Yeah, especially for one particular mission in chapter 2, the Phantom Bee, or just that Phantom Thief. Like, did any of you do that?
I
No,
haven't
can't
yet,
even see
no.
that one.
Yeah, it's painful. I mean, it's really cool, but it's very painful to do it because the first thing that you have to look for, because more or less this chapter is a thief stole an important relic from the mayor of the town, and or just a phantom thief is leaving cards all around the places for Joshua and Estelle to read and find clues on finding it. And one of them I couldn't find because I knew it had to do something with a lighthouse, but I didn't know where it was in the town, and it was killing me until I realized it was like in the corner of the town, and there was no way to actually look at it unless like you turn the camera a certain way, or if you talk to the the lighthouse. And I was like, I would have been spending all day on this.
Yeah, I have. So that's kind of a combination. First of all, I found a lot of the side quests, at least in the prologue and the beginning of the first chapter, to be kind of boring. It seemed like glorified fetch quests
Yeah, same.
with almost no payout except for money, and then also bracer levels, which I don't know what those do. So they haven't done anything for me. So and then I have more than enough money. So on that side, it didn't seem like it was worthwhile. And then all of them are in these arbitrary places that I can never find. I can never figure out where anything is in this game.
You know, that's one of my bigger complaints about this game in general, is trying to find your event triggers. Like, I had a really hard time, and this jumping ahead a little bit, but in chapter 1, when Estelle has to go fishing,
Yeah.
I had a hell of a time getting the rod and finding the right spot they wanted me to stand in, and it just took way too long. And I remember that upset me the first time as well. It's like, it makes the game seem way more archaic than it is.
I had the same problem. It got so bad. I spent like 15 minutes trying to figure out how to do this rod thing. I pulled up a FAQ, read the FAQ, and I still couldn't do it.
Yep.
I hate it when that happens. Like, you're wondering, it's like, am I just dumb, or
Oh, yeah.
is the guy who wrote this dumb?
Well, and there's so much of this little arbitrary of it. You're supposed to go here. Everybody tells you that you have to go to this one location. It's actually a location that you know. You go there, and they're like, no, there's nothing there. There's nothing in triggers. And then you wander around, and finally, I pull up a fax. I have to figure out how to do this. And they're like, oh, you were supposed to go to the 3rd floor and look in this room and just stare out the window. And then you're supposed to go over to the beach and talk to so-and-so and then go there. It's like, no, you told me to go there. I went there. I did my job. Why am I not being rewarded for that?
There was someone on the boards, which thank you everybody who's been talking about that. It's been really cool. But someone on the boards was talking about they couldn't trigger the
mine key thing.
Yeah, the mine key thing, where the guy has to show up you have to get the event triggers in just such a way that the guy will be at the grave, so you can talk to him and he'll give you the key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had that one too.
Okay. Yeah.
It'd just be so nice if they just put a map marker on, but oh well, game's 11 years old, I guess.
So this is something I'll bring up way later because it ties into something else I want to talk about. But it's little things like that actually, it's the graphics, which I've gotten actually past. They no longer bother me. Mm-hmm. And it's the little triggers like that shows its age. There's a lot of other things that it actually makes it seem fresh and new. Like it's something I could see that would be in a reaction to kind of the last couple of years in video games and like what people have been doing and what people have been wanting. And then it's those times where it comes to those triggers that it's like, this is a decade old game because this isn't how you build games anymore. And my solution now would be, it's definitely because they do so much with the BP system of you have to do things in certain order or respond to certain things or save somebody before you do this to get the maximum BP. I'd almost wish that if you didn't do those certain triggers, if you went to that location, you'd just get docked a couple BP points. And I still don't know what that BP end up equaling. It seems important for something, but I'd rather have it go that route than break up the flow of the game.
Yeah, does anyone know what your bracer rank actually does? Like, is it just like a plot thing?
Well, you get certain items for each rank you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you get levels carried over into the next game, I think.
See, and that's where that sounds all well and good, but since we're only playing this one, I don't care. And then also, originally I thought if I got to level 1 or past level 1, they'd make me a senior. So I was all at first I was like, yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna be a senior.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I realized I need recommendations from all the towns. It doesn't matter what I do, and that kind of killed that for me.
It is kind of cool how they make you actually want to be a senior bracer, though.
Yes, absolutely. I wholeheartedly want to be one.
Oh, these guys are so cool.
Well, if nothing else, just so like Agate or whatever, and he's just being a dick. Like, look at you, you're so young. Like, no, screw you, I'm a senior too. You can't steal quests from me.
And I appreciate that, like, when people try to defend them, like, the receptionist over on the Ron guild, he's like, yeah, you just don't understand how he is. And it's like, no, he just sounds like a real dick.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably a dick.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, he comes from a rough background. So I was like, so he's been a dick for a while then.
He's an experienced jerk.
Okay, you can sell me the tragic backstory later, but he just stole a quest from me.
Yeah, that was actually important to me. He hurt people that I care about. Yeah. So I guess since we're starting to talk about, let's actually jump into chapter 1. Let's kind of roll through, kind of take something in order.
So chapter 1, we leave our hometown and we head into Boast. And we head towards the Hawking Gate, where there are some other dicks.
Yeah. Yeah. Beginning the whole trend of everybody you meet basically hates you.
And I don't remember. Shara left with you, right? Shara's in your party the whole time?
Yeah, she's with you for all of chapter 1.
And then you briefly get another party member. Olivier? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sure.
Oliver.
Oliver?
I was calling him Olivia.
I called him Oliver because I wasn't going to give him the credit of being something cool.
No. I call him fabulous bard man person.
Yeah, he's the best. But we're gonna meet him in just a little bit. We have to do a bunch of crap.
Yes.
Okay, but so Estelle and Joshua are like, oh my god, the world is so cool, which is cool because you as the player are like, oh my god, this world is kind of cool now that you're finally off the leash a little bit.
Yeah, it's a unique plot device to be able to have them just as clueless as you are.
Yeah.
Since they are so young, they are inexperienced. A lot of times you're in games that they'll be like, let's go over this thing we've gone over 100 times so that the player knows what's going on. And in this, they legitimately have no idea what's going on or how they're supposed to handle things.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're
like
children.
When they eventually do get to Boast and they're like, oh, you need to switch over your like allegiance to this guild or this bracer location. They have to explain it to them because it's new for them, but it's also new for you. And it works really well in the game because you're learning at the same pace of the character at all times.
And that's a cute little thing that they make you go through every chapter, and when they actually take time out to make you sign the charter or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it feels so official. And that goes along with how bad they make you want to be a senior bracer. Like, they show you all the rigmarole you have to go through, and it kind of, I don't know, motivates you.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool, like, they have them register for each place, like, releasing them from their original location. It kind of does feel like an actual profession, where it's like, well, you don't work at, or say in retail, you don't work in this store anymore, you work at that store, so you gotta be released over there. I thought that was really cool.
No, I really like that idea.
Yeah, they do a lot with the world building to really make it feel like a lived-in place that has rules, and you might not be aware of them, but neither are these children that you're playing as through proxy, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, yeah, they get to the Hawking Gate. They're pursuing I think they know that they're the Guarda family at that point, right? Or
yeah, they're
the Capua family, yeah.
The guys who attacked them who they fought at the end of Chapter 0.
Because they're pursuing them from them being in that kind of big ship. So they come through the Hawking Gate and they have to approach the general basically for help. And they've been warned that he hates bracers, which seems like
just lie.
Yeah, it seems like the biggest understatement ever and the worst lie in the world.
When they say he hates bracers, they mean he hates them with a fiery passion and will not give them the time of day.
Yeah.
Well, I love that conversation too, because you're just like sitting there having a friendly conversation, and you kind of let something slip, and he's like, "What do you mean?" And you cover it up. But then later, like, "Oh yeah, I'm bracers." And then he just flips his shit.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of disappointed that it took him that long to figure it out.
Yeah.
Isn't he like a general or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an
I mean, that's a
important
terrible
man.
general.
Yeah,
that.
he was a little slow on that.
3 heavily armed civilians just came into my military camp asking questions.
Right. Well, they pitch it
Meh.
as
Seems
two
legit.
children and a lady.
Yeah, we're nobodies that happen to know this mayor, and she gave us this super important task. Can you help us out?
Seems legit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the mayor is a cool lady. I forgot.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
actually
I-
is really interesting.
That was one of the things about that town, Bose? How do you pronounce it? Bose?
Bose, the speaker village.
I know. And that's it's something I've liked in all the towns we've seen so far, is that they've all had a pretty unique personality, and I liked how much focus they gave on the fact that it's a merchant city,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to explore that like central market and talk to the shopkeepers and get some quests from them. I kind of liked that. It was fun.
Yeah,
it's a nice little-
I think we talked about it last podcast. But how they're actually expressing that because of the embargoes and whatnot, that it's affecting their town, and so it makes it so your actions actually have an effect on what's around you.
Yeah, and I really like that. It's those little details, that little personal touch that like your actions in game matter in the long run. That's so far, I think that's what's keeping me playing Trails in the Sky.
Okay. See, I actually turned to the point that I think I like it, or at least I convinced myself that I like it.
It's funny because like that chapter with Bose was actually like where I really struggled with the game. Like do I really want to play this game? And then like after that, like going through, when I finally got towards the end of it, I was like, actually, yeah, it's actually a pretty fun game. And when I finally got to the next chapter, then it's like, yeah, I like this game. I'm gonna keep going with it.
Chapter 2 is
Okay.
for sure what won me over.
Yeah, that's my progression as well. So, which is
Yeah,
a
like-
long time to get there.
Well, I in a lot of ways, I almost feel like Chapter 1's still a prologue,
Yeah, for sure.
because they're still teaching you all this mechanics of you actually being outside of your safe zone.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I feel like they're actually like, hey, you're actually going to a real dungeon. Hey, you're actually fighting a real boss, and so you're still kind of progressing through all those like learning how to do things.
yeah.
And that's where I at least I think that's why Chapter 2 actually resonated with me. That I felt like I was actually playing the game finally.
Yeah. It's kind of like going from on the job training to having a job.
Yeah, but you still don't know anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh jeez, and it kind of actually it's really funny because like this goes right back from the beginning up to now. I don't think the game really rewards you for like exploring certain areas, because when I got to like a certain patch over in Chapter 2 of like monsters, they were almost sending me to my deathbed, and that kind of scared me.
Yeah, that's so. It's, first of all, kind of creepy, but they let you go into everybody's house.
Yep.
Which is kind of odd, but at the same time, it's cool because there's little bits of personality in each one. But there's nothing more frustrating than walking into a house and, like every other game in the world, if you see a treasure chest in somebody's house, you can open it and steal all their stuff. And I guess they're making it realistic because you're not supposed to steal from people. But every time I walk into any room and I feel like I should be rewarded for me exploring, and I walk up to a chest and it doesn't open, it pisses me off.
You feel like there should be something tangible there.
Right.
I don't blame
Wants to
you.
get something for nothing.
Like for whatever reason, the mayor's chest in in your home village, I really wanted to open that chest, but it was just some random prop or some doodad.
Yeah, and that's all of them are. Unless you're actually in the outskirts of a city walking between the two on those trails, none of the chests work.
Yep.
And they're everywhere.
I guess that's what makes
It keeps you
opening
open, man.
chests. I think that's what makes opening chests in the game world that much more rewarding. That and the little messages that are accompanied with each chest.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
Like one of them in if you're like at the haunted house or the haunted school or whatever, or just one filled with monsters, I like what one of them says. It just says, "Feed me, Seymour." I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand, like, the context. It's just, where is this coming from?
Oh, I like it. That's pretty good. I can get down with that.
A Little Shop of Horrors reference.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that probably is.
I totally didn't just Google that.
That makes sense.
You're so smart and cultured.
Yeah, I know. I have internet access. That makes me smart.
You really should have just left it. It made you sound super smart.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I was gonna say, like, Peter, that is very knowledgeable. Good for you.
I was also surprised, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I tried. I got in what my favorite treasure chest message that I got was it was somewhere in chapter 2. One of them says "I am error," and I was just like, references.
Oh, Zelda 2. Right?
Yeah, that's the yeah.
Yeah, you got it. No.
Remember, I've never beaten a Zelda game.
Well, Zelda 2 is not going to be the one anyone tells you to go play.
Really? I think Zelda 2 is a really fun game. I mean,
me too, but it's just not.
It's very different.
It is very different. It's incredibly different. Let's see.
So
I don't. Do we meet Oliver at the Hawken Gate?
yeah, so the general kicks you out, and before you went and saw the general, you had to first go into the bar-ish restaurant place, and you saw him there, and he kind of talked to you, and he said you guys were super interesting. He tried to follow you, and you're like, "What are you doing?"
He tried to hit on Joshua.
He tried to hit on everything.
He's extremely amorous.
Hey, that's a pretty wall. Come over here. Yeah, he hits on literally everything. So you kind of get to see him, and it's kind of implied. It's like they actually put some time in making this person. He's going to come back. And sure enough, as soon as the general kicks you out, you see him there. He's like waiting for you outside, and you're about to basically get in like a fight because you guys are so pissed, and he kind of breaks it up
by singing a stupid song, and then everyone is so dumbfounded that they just go home.
But here's where it's like, this is an absolute video game. This guy was creepy. He's like, "I'll have sex with the two of you, but you look like a ugly girl." You tell him not to follow you. He comes in and breaks up a fight by singing this creepy song, and then you're like, "Hey, you did a good job. Why don't you come with us?" Nobody does that.
I thought they didn't want him to come with them, and he keeps finagling his way into their party. Like he's got his own agenda to want to hang out with these. Maybe he just likes the hot kids, right?
I'm pretty sure it was just one of those. Oh, we're heading in the same direction. Why don't I accompany you?
Yeah.
Sure. You stay over there.
Oliver is definitely my weird anime spirit animal because I am nothing. I want to say I'm nothing like him, but I feel like if I was anime, I would be really skeevy and hilarious, and I would definitely be a bard. So that's where I land on it.
It's a solid choice.
I mean, yeah, he's certainly a person.
Yeah,
Also,
he's something.
Also, thank God for him in battle, right?
He's so amazing.
Oh my God, yes. He's like got the best magic in your party. He's got crafts that do huge area of effect.
Yeah.
And he has a gun.
Which, I'm not gonna lie, I'm so used to video games when somebody has a gun, it does shit. It literally just doesn't do anything. It's like, oh, pew pew. I avoided for the first couple fights actually having him just flat out attack. And then I was like, let's not waste this. And he shot, and he was like, that's 4 times stronger than anything else I can do.
Yeah, Oliver the best though.
Yeah, he just wrecks.
And then you get back to town, and then he just leaves your party again for a short while, and then you get him back because he got arrested for drinking someone's
for
super
stealing
expensive.
really
Like $1 million bottle, yeah.
I hope it was worth it, buddy.
Which turned out to be the cool mares.
Yeah.
And because of that, it was all okay.
Yes.
Well, it's
So-
only okay because he agreed to help out Joshua and Estelle, thus attaching himself to the group again.
Right.
Yeah. So him leaving actually kind of raises, I guess, a small complaint I have with the game. And it's kind of the coming in and leaving of party members.
Mm.
So on my side, first of all, I don't like having a party of 2 because very often, even in simple battles, you can get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so and it comes down to you almost have to time when you're going to do certain things to make sure that you have party members. And then beyond that, I never felt like I should invest in them. So I never bought them any clothing, any weapons, because it was one of those things that for the longest time I didn't even know if I was going to get those back. I never invested in any of their wearables or
you do get them back, but you don't know that at first.
Right. It took me until the second chapter to realize that, and I was also always gun shy. It's like, well, why should I give them a potion or something? Because they might leave right after this fight, so it's a waste. So I always played that game of like, I don't want to waste anything that I have to invest in because they could leave at any second.
Which is funny because resources aren't like really scarce in this game.
They are for me.
Money.
Which we'll get to at the end of the chapter.
I guess
chapter
I have to
1.
check my privilege.
But they are for me.
So we didn't talk about Nile. Are you guys calling him Nile or Neil?
I call him Nail.
I call him Neil.
Yeah, I like Neil. Let's go with Neil.
I was calling him Niall, but I guess that means I'm contrarian now. So
I called him Nail, so you're closer than I am.
Neil it is.
Okay, so we didn't talk about Neil and Dorothy last chapter, but I think they're pretty fun people, and you will periodically throughout the game, whenever your investigation like runs into a wall, you'll run into Neil and exchange some info, and then he takes all the credit, and it's all good because he's a fun guy and he's probably drunk anyway.
He's actually all right to be around.
Yeah, and just like, man, there's a lot of alcoholics in this game. I feel like anyone who is an adult, except for your softball coach dad, is just a hardcore alcoholic.
I almost feel like it's odd not to be. So like Joshua refusing to drink is like, why are you the social outcast? What are you doing?
Estelle doesn't partake. At least she hasn't yet. I don't think.
I think Estelle gets down.
Enough to drink.
I feel like everyone like looks at her and says, "We can't give her liquor. She's too young." But they see Joshua as like, "You want a beer, buddy?"
No, see what it is they want Joshua to loosen up, and they look at Estelle and like, you are already crazy.
Yeah.
We can't give you any more. You're already in party mode. If we give you even a sip of alcohol, it's just gonna blow up.
They don't want to. They don't want to let that one out of the box.
No.
Well, you nailed it. That's all right. Go with that. And so another character from last chapter that we neglected to talk about was Mr. Elba, the scholar or archaeologist.
Yeah, that you save in the tower.
Yeah, and you can do a side quest with him too. If you go to the tower in this region, you'll meet up with him. And guess what? He's checking out the tower. I know, it's shocking, but
Did any of you guys do that?
Yeah, I did.
I did.
I actually haven't been. So what happens?
I mean, you just go to the tower and he's checking it out. I would like to tell you more, but I can't.
Oh.
There are things I can't tell you about these towers and these quests. I'll just leave it at
Yeah, I haven't done any of the tower quests, and I kind of assumed that they were big. We've talked about, like, with me going to the FAC, I usually check just to see how far I am. And out of all the side quests, they're usually on a separate page, but they always put the tower quests actually in with the main plot.
Yeah.
And so that's where I knew it was actually really important. Still chose not to do them, though.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't talk about it.
Well, there's two of you. Have both of you beaten the game before?
Not me.
What did you think of the tower?
Whenever I go to towers, they're fine. I mean, like, Alba doesn't really do anything on the first, like, 2 times you see him in the tower. The second time, it's more or less just, you see him and then you get him out of there.
Okay.
And it's just like, okay. I just like the tower because there's some items in there that, they're very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the name of the armor? Is it a battle suit or something like that, or?
Let's go with battlesuit.
There's chainmail in the Amberl Tower.
Yeah, it's not chainmail, but it's like some battle armor. I forgot what it's called, but like it raises your defense considerably, even better than what's sold in stores.
Okay.
And I was like, wow. When I equipped that and went into a battle, there was a real difference of damage.
The gear in the towers is really good.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm about to start checking these out then.
I think the one consistent thing about the towers, at least at first, is that Joshua usually doesn't feel really good when he's in there.
Which I'm really interested to see what that is. That was from the prologue. That was the only big question that was kind of raised. Well, the first one, obviously, where's Joshua from?
Yeah.
But the second one is, why does he get sick when he's on the top of the tower?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I remember what happens, but I'm being stupid for even talking about it. Okay. So then we need to go to the Ravenue mine. The Raven mine.
Yeah, the Raven mine.
You have to go to the Ravenclaw mine.
And so this is kind of in the mine and surrounding the whole mine is kind of the first times that ordering of your actions, I think, really, really matters. We already talked about getting the actual key to be able to get in. But then even inside the mine with the whole direction of your the mine carts. I think I'm thinking the right.
Wait,
There's
is
that
that
in
the
the
mine from the prologue?
That might be the
this
prologue.
is the second mine you go to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because
my mind's.
this mine is abandoned.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because
Okay,
you
and-
fight the sky bandits there.
Yep, Kyle and 4 Sky Bandits, which was a pretty good one. This is kind of showing you that boss fights you're gonna have to be really tactical and mindful when you're in boss fights because they throw like usually huge amounts of dudes at you.
Yeah, I don't know if they're really hard per se. More so, just there's so much crap there.
Yeah.
You do start getting a chance to use some more of. We mentioned earlier the AOE abilities, stuff like Joshua's flicker ability, which it attacks every enemy in a straight line on the grid and also knocks down their turn count. Like using abilities like that becomes a lot more important in some of the bosses.
Flicker is probably one of the best moves in the whole game.
Yes, like, and it's funny that that we're talking about that the fight was that the brother's name, Kyle?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that was and we were talking about this earlier. Like that was the boss. I used Flicker, and I had a quartz quartz that did 10% petrify, and it petrified him. Like literally the first action, I had Estelle run up to a hurricane, killed him. So it was by far the easiest fight in the game, just by a 10% roll.
You should have gone and bought a scratch off.
Yeah, so I didn't even find out about Hurricane until about an hour ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know that's really embarrassing. I didn't realize. Well, I knew that there was crafts, but I didn't put together that they're actually useful. And I guess that's my big complaint is like talking about the first chapter being still a tutorial. I didn't feel like I needed to do it until all of a sudden there's just like this point in chapter 2 that it got all of a sudden super hard. And that was where I was like, I really need to actually rethink how I'm fighting these. And that's when I was like, let's try these crafts things out. And that's where I found out those are super powerful.
They put a huge emphasis on crowd control pretty early on, and I think it's probably try to make you experiment with those crafts and to try to make you learn some AoE arts and play around with the orbment system.
And up until basically chapter 2, I basically just brute forced my way through everything.
Yeah, I never felt like you needed to like use any of those skills in the early game, which is then all of a sudden, after a certain point, it's just like, okay, hope you were paying attention.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess, my complaints. It's more of me being stupid, but you get into this nonchalant like attitude because everything's been easy to a point, and it's literally there's just one line in the sand that's like, all right, all of a sudden the game's for real. You can't do the same thing. You should be actually playing this game smart. And I had completely forgotten about those because they hadn't been important whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's true.
I don't know.
Like,
I kind of. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like it's true because there's some monsters later on, like I think 1 or 2 of them optional, that you can't hurt them with magic. I mean, with physical attacks, it has to be magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if you're so used to using physical attacks, when you finally get to a monster that does magic, or only affected by magic, you're a little bit in the stride. It's like, these guys can potentially kill you unless you run away.
Yeah, and that threw me for a loop the first time I did that, and I had to run away.
I can't count the number of times I just would dual strike with Joshua right off rip, do 2 damage, and be like, oh, okay.
Whoops.
Reload game.
Well, yeah. At least this game does have save anywhere, and that's kind of nice. But you're gonna talk about that soon, Josh.
Yeah, that's
Okay. So let's move along then. So after we run into Kyle and all the Sky Bandits, they take off again, which was actually a little frustrating. I feel like the second time you fight the dude, you should get something out of it, but whatever.
I feel like at some point, and this is me being maybe a terrible person. After like the third time they do like a smoke bomb and they run away, I feel like after you beat them, you should just shoot them. Like,
Yeah,
got him.
I was gonna say the same thing. Just kill him.
Problem solved. Let's bring him in. Only half a bounty, but we got him.
Well, we never distinguished if it was half bounty, dead or alive. Just stop them.
I'm just kind of assuming that everybody would be a little upset with me. But the whole chapter would be so much shorter.
Well, never mind the fact that you're playing 2 children.
Yeah. But every time they're like, oh, let's come back the way we came. Oh, they got revived. We have to fight them again. I was like, no. Just kill all of them or lock the door on the way out.
Yeah, well, okay. Smoke bomb. Ninja vanish. Game over. So yeah, that was a little upsetting. So you run out of leads at this point, and you have to go to Valeria Shore. I don't remember who tells you that. Oh yeah, you talk to that guy who's like, "Oh, I have a fishing friend who says he saw some weird shit down at the shore." So
yeah, because
like, okay.
If I remember correctly, weren't they like ransacked?
Yep, was the Phantom Thief, I think, that Marcos was talking about.
No, not in Bose. That was, I think, the actual like Sky Pirates.
Yeah, those are Sky Pirates. They stole a bunch of stuff, and so you hear that there might be something going on. So you go because you're investigating as well at the same time as the military. They send you down to the Valeria Shore to go fishing with this one weird dude that's searching for ginormous fish.
Yeah. You have to scream at him, I forgot.
Yeah, because of that, you do like a midnight stakeout, and that's where you see that it's the Sky Bandits again.
As frustrating as the whole fishing thing was for me, I really like the writing in that whole sequence. Especially with Shara getting Oliver too drunk to come. That was really cool. And then Oliver throwing up so that he could come.
So I think in the prologue we made a lot of jokes about Estelle kind of being weird, and most of us didn't like her writing. Yeah. I don't know what happened if they got different writers, but as soon as chapter 1 rolled around, everybody's dialogue I actually really enjoyed. I found basically every ounce of the writing to be enjoyable.
I mean, that's awesome. It is. I think that scene was just. I think Sherazade helps a lot. She's a really cool character.
Yeah. I was very sad when she leaves at the end of chapter 1.
Oh, yeah. God. And every time your characters leave, you just feel so weak and helpless.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, you because you did your stakeout, you see the Sky Bandits, you follow them back to their ginormous ship that they've been hiding. And next to that ship is the ship that the Lost Air ship. Yeah.
Yep.
That's bad.
The giant Lost airliner thing.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And Oliver's like, "Hey, let's get on."
Yeah, let's not let them get away for the 10th time.
Yeah. Well, actually, I liked it because he didn't tell you let's get on. He's like, "I have an idea," and then they cut to the Sky Pirates getting to their base, and then they reveal to the player, "Oh yeah, you were on the airship." Yeah,
they sometimes they that was like really cleverly done, and then they'll have other times where they do like the different color writing where they're retelling somebody what happened, and it's kind of weird because sometimes they're very progressive with like, we're gonna do this very stealthily, kind of lead in, but like not have you know what's going on, and other times they restate the same thing like 10 times. So,
well, a lot of times they'll do like Joshua explain to the others what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then somebody else enters the room, so Joshua explains again.
Yeah. I mean, people got to get caught up to speed, you know?
Yeah. But so this is the Sky Bandit hideout, I think, is where the game actually starts. Like this is where I felt like the game actually began for me.
It's kind of
Sure.
like the first legitimate dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real Dark Souls starts here.
Which the other nice thing, which was super annoying but also great, they have a rest point at the beginning of that level.
Yep.
So you could always
Yes.
go back to that.
All the way back. Well, you say always, but
I went back a lot.
yeah.
So before you went to the town or before you went towards the to the ship, they're like, "This is your last chance to get health items." I didn't
Yeah.
listen well enough to that. I bought some, but apparently not enough. So I started blowing through those pretty quickly. So I made a lot of trips back to that save point, or the rest point, I guess technically. But it was nice that at least it was the option. It was tedious to go back and forth, but at least there was that option.
Yeah.
I've been finding it's cheaper to buy ingredients for food because there's a lot of the cooking stuff in this game for people who are listening, but instead of buying a bunch of healing items, at just every battle I would sit down, make some pasta, and then that would heal my whole party, and then I would be good to go.
Yeah,
Sounds legit.
I started doing the same thing after. We'll get to it, but I had huge issues at the end of this chapter, and that's what I started doing in chapter 2 to make sure I didn't have that problem anymore. The cooking's worked out really well for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when do you get the recipe for the omelet? Because the omelet's the one that heals your whole party for 500.
Oh wow.
And the ingredients are all really cheap.
I can't remember which one. I want to say that might have been in the Valeria, the inn.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of the places you talk to the chef. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, here's our main recipe. You can have it."
Well, yeah, and once I found out how important those were, I'm buying food everywhere. They kind of hinted at the beginning, but I thought it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, I just have food everywhere in my inventory.
Yeah, generally.
I haven't tried it yet, but I heard you can make dishes and sell them for more than the cost of the ingredients sometimes.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, infinite money.
Yeah, I've been doing that occasionally.
I've not been doing that. I might try that.
Yeah. That was so basically how this game went for me is I limped along all chapter 1. I never had enough of anything.
Mhm.
And so kind of that whole like paradigm shift in chapter 2 of how I had to look at the game, I started looking for all the little cheats like that. And so I always have health items now because I cook all the time. I started having issues with money because I always wanted to buy the nicest gear. So I always had like one Mira. And so I found out that cooking kind of trick, and I just started rolling through so I could always have at least 20 to 25,000. Just super tedious, but it works really well.
Mm.
Right. Should we start talking about a little bit more about chapter 2 then?
I just want to talk about this boss.
Oh, okay. Good. What happened with the boss?
Fuck this boss.
Ooh.
So I think the boss was the first time I actually died in the game, which that was annoying, but it was nice because I was like, all right, this game's actually starting. But like I said, I didn't have any health items, so I beat the boss. I had like one person left. It was like, if I miss, I will die. If I, it's one of those like triumphant moments. Like, thank God I somehow pulled this off. I have no idea. You have that huge, just like winning moment.
Right.
But then I had 2 items left to re-heal my people, and then I had to limp out of that dungeon with less than 500 HP on all 3 of my characters.
Now,
Ouch.
my question is, do you enter a battle with like a full like bar of CP?
Nope, because I ran through all of that to finish the boss off.
Okay, that's why. Because generally,
right.
So I had basically no magic, no health, and no CP, or however those to be able to do my special. So I had nothing.
yeah. Because for myself, like I didn't like I said earlier, or probably before, that I rely heavily on Flicker. Flicker is the best thing ever. I live by it.
Yeah.
So whenever Don, before he even got a chance, I just used Flicker because I didn't want any of his bad news. Or when
Yeah, that was how I kept doing it.
or when Kyle pulled out a
Keep delaying his attacks and
Yeah, because when Kyle pulled out a smoke bomb, I was like, I'm not having any of this. I would just flicker him.
No.
We've had enough smoke bombs.
No, stop. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ultimately what I kind of got to is this was almost the moment that the game was done for me. This was almost me having my Vita done for me because it was almost broken against a wall. Because I had to load in. I probably did each battle 15 to 20 times on the way out.
Man.
Because so how I play is I save all the time, but I only keep one save.
That's
So as soon as that boss battle was done, I saved because like chapter's done. Did it. Just gotta walk out of here. We're good. And yeah, that didn't go well.
I was shocked every time there was another encounter on the way out.
I was cursing. Like, I was swearing so much. My wife came in from the other room and it's like, you need to calm down. Like, you don't understand. There's another... I already beat these people. They should be dead. Why are they still here? Why are they just waiting in this arbitrary corner? Why aren't they actually doing something? Why aren't they trying to escape?
Loyalty.
If they're loyalty, they should be going with their boss.
Dedic-
They should be protecting him because I just kicked his ass.
Video game logic at its finest.
Yeah, it did give pretty video game logic here, right?
So that was absolutely painful for me.
But you made it.
Yeah.
So, there's like 2 really obscurely hidden side quest items in that dungeon as well.
Black Notebook.
Also the jewel ring, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so I thought about going back to get them, but then I was like, nah. And this is the point I decided to stop caring a lot about quests.
Funny thing is, I've done almost no side quests. I did both of those.
Wow. Well, you were in there so long, right?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in there.
Oh, that's great.
But I love that the Black Notebook's hidden inside of a vacuum.
Yeah.
That is like the best thing ever.
That's the one I missed. So when you finally get out there, you some pretty weird stuff happens. Like, first of all, when you beat the Sky Bandits, Don goes all amnesiac.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of sad.
I thought it was kind of awesome.
That too, I guess.
And this kind of jumping ahead, one of the I'm not sure because I always play these video games and start playing Mass Effect and they're like, oh, you're just an arbitrary like guy. All of a sudden you're saving the world. Play all these games and there's these like, you seem like this simple nothing. You're on a very simple quest because somebody stole your cupcake. And all of a sudden you save the world. And so I go back and forth between really enjoying this game because you're doing lots of mundane things that are important to you at the time, but you look at the grand scheme of things and they almost mean nothing. And I enjoy that. But at the same time, someone's like, well, why am I doing this? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? But with the Don moment, it was one of those, like, after kind of having that feeling throughout the chapter, like, this doesn't seem as important as it actually is. To him have like that amnesia moment is like, wow, there's something that's so much bigger than all of this, that they did something crazy to this guy, that he's doing all these nefarious actions and he had no idea what he was doing.
I just thought it was so sad when he wakes up. He's just like, hey, what are we doing here? Why do I have this cannon? Hey, let's go get some breakfast or something.
Hey, these are new recruits.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man, it's kind of heartbreaking in a way, man. Poor Don Capua.
I feel bad for Kyle and Josette. So this whole time they're like, we probably shouldn't be doing this. And Don's like, yeah, we gotta do this. And as soon as they come, they're like, it wasn't me. It was those two.
The perfect cover-up.
There was another weird thing. There was another weird little foreshadowing this chapter when you first ambush Kyle and he's like, you guys aren't supposed to be here yet because he thought you were the army.
That was super interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things like that. They always throw very small like mentions of something, or like you just see this little glimpse of something, and you know it means a lot, and you can tell right at that moment. They do a very good job of kind of dragging you through the plot by doing that, but it always keeps you interested in something.
Are you any of you guys familiar with Knox's Commandments of Detective Fiction?
What?
I am not, no.
So they're like really super outdated, and some of them are weirdly racist.
Okay.
But a lot of them are really important for detective fiction. Like twin brothers and doubles must not appear unless like they've been foreshadowed. And one of them that I feel is really important for this game, also like no supernatural agencies. But number one is the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story. And I feel like at the end of every chapter of Trails in the Sky, when you're at the point where you're like, all right, who's doing this? It is someone you've met that chapter or in the very beginning of the game. So this is kind of cool because you're currently asking who brainwashed Don Capua. What do they have to gain from this? And you have all this, like all these questions about the army, who you have met a few influential figures from, and then at the end of chapter 2, you kind of get a lead on another antagonistic group. But like this game doesn't ambush you with, oh by the way, the murderer was hiding in the bushes.
Yeah. Which is good and bad, because like the Josette stuff in the prologue, it was super obvious.
Yeah, that was, I think, probably the worst example of that in this game.
But I agree with the other ones. It seems like they did a good job of kind of, you never seem shocked or cheated.
Right, and chapter 2 is a really good example of that.
And I think what's really good about this game is just the way how they subtly introduce things, and just even like if you read it, like the conversations with NPCs, like sometimes like it's small time banter, and they might just throw something in very quickly that may not seem significant. And it's like it's huge. It comes up later to be something big.
Yeah, there's not as much wasted text as you might want to think.
Which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they do so much of this dialogue that makes it you want to skip all of it. Because sometimes it's like, oh, you're being really cutesy, you're stupid. I should just skip through all of this. But then you realize that almost everything that's said has a point.
You're like, hey, that one time Joshua said ...
Yep.
Oh yeah, I get it now.
When he spoke out, silence.
Yeah, well, that's a real thing with Joshua, man. Every time he says ... you need to kind of stroke your chin for a minute and be like, oh yeah, what you got going on there, Joshua?
The best. Go ahead,
I was gonna
sorry.
say, just look at his portrait. He's looking at the floor. You can't trust him.
The best was the montage in chapter 2 when they're getting ready for the play, and they're in class.
Oh yeah.
And the teacher's like ... and you can just tell Estelle's like, why are you talking to me? I shouldn't be in school. I'm not cracked out for this. And so the teacher's like, there's like, I don't even remember. There's like some symbol though, like you could tell the teacher's pissed.
Sweat drop.
And then, yeah, and then they asked Joshua, and he's like, oh yeah, bark, 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 because he has a little like exclamation points above his head. And everyone was like, oh shit, he knows what he's doing. And everybody's shocked. And we're like, yeah, Joshua's got it going on. He knows what's happening.
Yeah, he does too.
But yeah, there's so much ... question mark. Crumpled piece of paper above somebody's head.
That's my favorite one. Okay, so that brings us more or less to the end of chapter 1, and you get a really cool scene with Oliver and Shara at the end of that, where Oliver goes all Oliver Ocelot.
I was gonna say.
I've been waiting on that because the conversation is, no, I didn't get up to meet up with that man.
In that accent, in the Russian accent?
Yeah. So everyone in Erebonia has a Russian accent.
I never imagined it would be so easy.
So before they actually showed that it was Oliver, did you guys think it was anybody else?
I had no idea. I thought they were doing one of those FF4 style meanwhiles, and then it shows you like a villain dialogue.
So I
thousands of miles away.
I really thought it was either Niall, or I thought it was your dad.
Oh.
So I was like, oh shit, because like this whole point is like, you have no idea what Cassius is doing. And they keep piecing it out like, oh, Cassius is doing this. How did he get captured by the Sky Pirates? How did he do this? Oh, he's so amazing. And you have all this history and like confusion around him. And like we were saying, like we're waiting for like those big twists, and they're leading into these like nefarious, like these bad people. I'm convinced at this point that Cassius is just a terrible human being.
Really?
Yeah. So when they let into those, like, here it is. They're not even gonna show his face. That's Cassius. And so I was almost I was at first disappointed that it was Oliver. Then I was like, that's actually really cool.
Yeah,
like
the Oliver dump was a really good one because like you had some inklings, and that's a good example too of the not as much wasted text as you think, because all of this like prancing around and freaking people out, like Oliver is a spy. He's putting on a show
and doing a damn good job.
Yeah, definitely.
Which makes more sense though too, because how would he be so good at shooting guns if he's this drunk?
Yep. Yeah, see, but in video game logic, you would assume he's a party member. Of course he's good at guns.
Yeah.
So, yeah, oh, by the way, your dad was not on the airliner. He was not a hostage. He's somewhere else. You get back to the Bracer Guild, and they found a package from him. And it's creepy. It's got a weird black orbment in it, and a message signed from a person named Kate.
Yeah, see, he's... Cassius is the evil monster in this. It might not even come out this game. It might be the second or third one. It's going to be Cassius' fault.
Cassius is not to be trusted.
No. See, that's why Joshua and Estelle are in the third game. He kills him at the end of the second one.
Oh.
Spoilers.
God.
They're actually guest characters in that game, but it's just not about them.
Maybe it's their ghosts.
Yeah.
It could be their ghosts. I never thought about that, and I have not played either the second and third games. So, you guys are cracking the code on Trails in the Sky right now.
I don't know. There's just something, because exactly what you're saying. And whenever you watch any of these TV shows, like you watch any of these crime things, they bring in that first guy, and you're like, that guy's a doofus. There's no way it's gonna be him. And you go through all this, they have all these red herrings about so-and-so and something, and it's like, it's got to be that person. No, it's got to be that person. It's got to be that person. At the end, they're like, oh, remember that first guy? It was him, because of this, this, and this. And I feel like you just look at the logic of that. Cassius is somebody that has this huge amount of mystery, has this huge history, and he was introduced at the beginning. Nobody assumes anything from him, and he keeps doing these little things that just doesn't seem right every time.
See, at this point in the game, I was suspecting Joshua.
No, Joshua's cool.
Wow. Why does he get a pass?
The only way Joshua's not cool is if you go to that last tower and he turns into a ginormous monster that's going to eat the whole world. That's the only way it goes bad for him.
He can still be a werewolf and a good guy. So, Chapter 2, everybody.
On that note,
the Adventures of Joshua the Werewolf and Cassius, the world's greatest super spy.
Just imagine if they team up together. That's gonna be a nightmare.
I think Cassius would be a great vampire killer name, like Cassius Belmont.
I could see that.
Oh, I like that.
Or Cassius Bloodstained.
Yeah, buddy. So the cool thing about Chapter 2 is Shara and Oliver take off. And Estelle and Joshua are on their own in the world for the first time.
And they
without any training wheels.
Do a terrible job.
Yep, they're ready to go do a bad job at Bracer. So I don't know. How's that chapter start, guys?
That's when you meet Agate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was
badass.
Really cool. Redhead Cloud Strife.
He's super cool.
Heavy blade, Agate. You know, it's really awesome when they throw you in that fight with him. They go ahead and pump his CP up just so you can see his big awesome stuff.
That was cool, yes.
Yeah, he's legitimately really cool.
Yeah, he is really cool, and he gives you a lot of tough love, and he's probably also a bit of a dick.
He's the endearing dick, though.
You're right. And he's friends with your dad. You find out he's an ex-mobster, and
that's my favorite moment, probably of possibly the whole second chapter. Is you're so you have to go through another gate, of course, and there's a bunch of wolves that attack in the night, and they wake, or they're like, I don't remember the whole thing, but Estelle and Josh were talking like, why is he being so hard on us? This is terrible. Like we're earning it too. And Joshua turns, maybe he's doing it because he cares about us.
It's like, hang on, let me be the grown-up.
I love that tough love.
And literally, Estelle's reaction was the same thing I had. I was like, what?
Beautiful. No, that scene was really cool. I like it when you go out to help the guards, and Agate's like, this is their job. They got it.
Yeah. Again, that's just it's brilliant story writing. Because it is one of those things that you're supposed to work with everybody, so to jump in and just do their job, it doesn't make sense. So I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, it was. You're right. You're right, Josh.
And I didn't want to fight any battles because I can't win any battles.
Oh yeah, Oliver left, so it's going to take half an hour every encounter.
So yeah, go ahead. Everybody else fight. We're going back to bed. Lock the door.
Wake us if you need anything.
And make sure you make some breakfast.
I prefer my coffee black.
Wait, really?
No, not really.
Okay, good.
But it doesn't sound as good as like, I'd like it with 2 spoons of sugar and some cream.
Can I get my coffee with 2 cream and 2 Splenda?
I think this is so off topic, but I think Jim Sterling made a video about that, about like everyone thinks they want a rich dark roast, and they're like, no, you actually want Starbucks. You just think a rich dark roast sounds good.
I want my strawberries and cream frappuccino.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that sounds good. Oh. Okay, so
moving away from coffee.
There's a lighthouse, and you can go kill some monsters if you are so moved.
I did that.
You have a special boxed lunch with Joshua in front of the ocean. Is a little romantic, except Estelle shoves her sandwich too far into Joshua's mouth.
So how many times, because I've had this legitimately, both with Joshua with Estelle and Joshua specifically with the girl that you meet shortly. Chloe.
Okay. I was going to go Chloe.
Or Chloe, or Chloe, or whatever. I don't.
The next doing has a voice acting.
None of us know how to pronounce anything in this game.
It's really bad.
Adios.
But how many times do you guys have it where it's like cue kiss? Like they have to kiss at this moment.
Oh my god. Oh.
So it's kind of like invisible hands going behind their heads and pushing their heads together?
Yep, like a little kid with dolls. And you two kiss now.
Banging their heads against each other.
Like me during The Walking Dead season 4 finale, yelling at Norman Reedus and guy who plays Rick, kiss, damn it.
Can't at the end of season 4 you can't kiss Rick. He's chewing off ears. You can't go by that mouth.
I mean, I don't know. If you're that desperate at that point.
Do not know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Did you get?
Moving on.
So, small gripe with those box lunches. The only thing that annoys me is I wish you could learn those recipes.
Oh yeah, that actually would have been a cool way to marry the gameplay and the narrative. You're right.
And it would be a nice callback if people hadn't been doing that.
Oh yeah, to remind you.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, you most likely did not come in with full health, have them eat their lunch, they have full health. It also says that you learned this. It would just be a nice reminder. But they do that a lot this chapter. I feel like I had like 4 meals this chapter, and none of them mounted to anything, which was kind of annoying. And most of the times I actually had just healed myself right before I ate that lunch, which pissed me off too.
Oh, you hobbit eating double lunches.
I ate so much food this chapter.
We had one, yes. What about second breakfast?
I got that one.
Good.
I would certainly hope so.
I did.
Good.
So, do we go to the orphanage first?
Yeah, you go to the orphanage after you leave the village.
Yeah, because so you get to the village, they check in,
yeah.
And she immediately walks out and runs into Chloe. What are we calling her?
Chloe.
Okay, she runs into Chloe, and they're like, "Oh, sorry," and they go have their romantic, awkward meal. And as soon as they're walking out, she runs into a small child with a hat, who Chloe happened to be looking for.
Who doesn't love the trope of child runs into you and takes your stuff?
Me.
Which
Yeah.
I almost got what I wanted though, because when Estelle finally catches up to him, I thought she was going to murder him.
Oh my god, didn't you want... I just want to hit the... He just needs to get hit.
She literally, like, I can't remember if I'm confusing this now with later on with the Ravens gang, but I want to say
Yeah.
she was like choking him out before she got attacked by the coolest character in the whole game.
That's great.
I feel like I remember his feet being lifted off the ground.
I can't remember if he was turned facing the other direction or her, but she was just like about to go at
Yeah,
it.
that's not the first time
And his legs were kicking.
Yeah, it's not the first time she's attacked a child either.
Yeah, she should not have kids.
Joshua, take note.
Joshua was amazing with kids. She is not.
Maybe they'll balance each other out.
Yeah,
Maybe Joshua will end up with Chloe.
maybe.
Or maybe he'll end
Because
up...
as... Okay.
So, but yeah,
So we
she.
get to Ruin on, and we meet the stupid fat mayor. Who's...
The mayor was cool. I think all the mayors have been cool,
Oh.
right?
This one
You met
seems
the
chill for now.
you met the
No.
you met the stupid fat nobleman guy.
Yeah, the
Dalmor
Duke. The
is
Duke was a jerk. He kicks you out of your hotel room. That was like the nicest thing I'll ever go in.
Oh, yeah.
The Duke.
Yeah. He's more like comic relief than anything. Now, by the end of Chapter 2, Dalmor is like a straight-up villain.
Spoilers.
But
Really?
we're gonna fight Josh Curry.
Sorry.
Well, anyway, he's like, okay, so when you meet him, you do think he's nice, because he's like really, really overly nice, and he goes out of his way to make sure everything's taken care of for you guys, and okay. What? Oh man.
We're
I
talking
forgot
about.
what happens next.
I'm making sure I'm thinking the same mayor. This is the mayor that broke up the Ravens when they attacked you, right?
Yes.
That's who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Wow, he turns bad?
He goes full on evil. He has monsters in his claws that he sicks on you, bro.
I feel like I shouldn't even play this game. You ruined it for me.
Yeah, that's there's only 2 chapters in this game.
But you know what though? Like there is like a creepy moment with the mayor when the orphanage burns down, and he keeps like telling the matron like, yeah, you can go to my place. I mean, you can run it if you want. I was like,
Yeah,
That's a little-
I have room in my basement.
it's like that's really generous, a little too generous. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, so his whole plot was he wanted high-end vacation homes there.
legit or
I am
Yes, no, serious.
like I haven't reached yet, so
I am legitimately annoyed that caught me by surprise.
I wasn't sure if you were making a really stupid joke.
is that sarcasm or you
That-
actually telling us what's
No, I'm actually like kind of annoyed that I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, because he is really pushy with the matron. I thought his whole thing was he was like creepy. He wanted creepy, sexy time with the matron. But no, he just didn't want the kids there because people don't want to buy a vacation home near kids.
That makes sense. So one of the things though that they do smartly is the mayor from the previous town, the female, they make her
Oh.
overly nice as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's one of those things like this could actually come as more because that legitimately surprised me because he was almost pushy nice, but he was nice. So it's one of those things. This is a trait that they're going for with mayors.
Well, I got the impression that Maybell was more like hard-working business lady.
She was
Yeah.
down-
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying she's down to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I felt like he was being. They were making him nice, just going a different route with it. So that actually is kind of surprising. Makes sense, but it's kind of surprising.
Yeah, what's interesting is you had the like him breaking up that gang at the beginning, and it's like, oh, he's a pretty cool guy. He helps you out. So that's like, oh yeah, he is a pretty cool guy. So
Yeah.
that twist is too wild, but it's very good how you like get that foil. It's like, yeah, he's breaking up the bad guys, and then that happens. Like, oh, okay.
So I actually had the exact opposite. I had where you're so when he breaks up the gang, it was almost one of those like dirty cop moments where like we've talked about this, do it at the
Yep.
right time. This is the wrong time.
Yep.
Ooh.
And
Yeah, you're
but
right.
then when he does the whole orphanage thing, although he was like pushy with it, I thought that was super nice, and I thought that almost redeemed him in my eyes. And so it was one of those, like, I was fully convinced that like he's a terrible person until he did that, and I was like, all right, maybe he's not bad.
Yeah, I was the opposite with that. I got a little suspicious. I was like, all right, guy, back off. Come back in a day or two.
Yeah, I really thought that it was representing unwanted advances towards the matron, and I kind of didn't get where they were gonna go with that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, he just wants to build high-end vacation homes because it's right on the beach, dude.
It is a really
And
nice spot.
With monsters.
And that's why the Duke's in town too. He got the Duke in town because he wants to sell him a vacation home.
Oh.
All
No,
right.
it all goes together, man.
Okay. I mean, like,
Trails in the sky.
the reason why
Synergy.
the reason why it's weird because like one of the side quests is the Duke went to one of the checkpoints and he wanted to rent it out or just like stay there, and all the travelers were getting upset at the checkpoints, like, yo, like, are you gonna let this guy do this? Like attacking the guard, and like Joshua and the guards trying to like chill them out while Estelle has to go in and sweet talk them to get out of there.
Just to go convince him that it's a crappy place to stay in.
Yeah, like, is that a cockroach at your feet? And he freaks out.
Yep. Oh man, no, I thought that guy was funny. I mean, he is a dick, but I thought it was pretty decent comic relief, and like the uptight butler dude who is nice to you.
Butler's awesome.
I want to say his name's Sebastian.
He's Butler to me.
You should just
Butler.
Sebastian's a good butler name.
He's a pretty cool guy.
So as we've said a couple times, the orphanage burns down because it's an RPG, and orphanages always burn down.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're highly flammable.
Which makes it so that you have to do another kind of, just like in the prologue, you have to do an investigation and find clues.
Which I'm not in love with those sequences.
I hate those because I always miss one, or I actually had it. You had to do it also on the ship in the prologue.
Yep, that's right.
On the ship, it actually bugged on me. I did all of the points. It didn't work. I had to leave the ship, come back, and do all the points again. It was the third time I did it that it actually worked.
Yeah, it may not even be that. Like, I found all the points because at that point I was like, all right, let me look at a guide. And then I exited the top of the airship, like through the back. But then when I went through like the other door in the front, then the trigger went, and I was like, that's so stupid.
Yeah. I felt the same way for this. I felt like I clicked on everything like 4 times before it actually worked. Which is one of those things like, the flames on the outside, I can figure that, well, it helps that you saw the video, but like,
Yeah.
you can tell by you just walk up, there's a huge black spot on the floor, and everything's thrown everywhere. They didn't do that while they were doing the fire. Like, I could have figured that out in like 13 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And so have to go through and click the same thing over and over again. I don't know.
I will say that the one interesting thing about the investigations is Joshua is like, he's like
Sherlock
almost like
Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, like he knows the exact method every time.
He's super smart.
Like he's done this before.
I don't know, that's not fair because he does a really good job being a girl too, so I'm not sure if he's done that before too.
Yeah, which was oh man.
Yeah, I mean, like, I actually
I was
saved
into
it.
that. It's too bad Oliver wasn't there for that scene.
Oh,
Hottest girl in the game.
Oh god,
Hottest
just
waifu.
imagine the
Joshua.
possibilities.
hottest waifu, Joshua.
Yeah,
Confirmed.
Joshua for RPG and waifu, RPG fan waifu 2015.
Yeah, for people in the thread, I have an image to Joshua in all of his beauty. I will be posting that on there.
Marcos, master of the gifts, lord of the images.
Indeed.
A sage of
Okay,
reaction
so-
gifs.
The first people you suspect are oh yeah, there was that shady gang, and so you go and check them out, and a little kid tried to yell at them, so they were about to beat up a little kid, I guess.
Mhm.
And so Agate shows up, and he's like, "Hey, turns out I used to run this gang. Now I'm gonna beat them all up for being dicks."
He like full on hulks this dude too. Punches him and he flies like 20 feet in the air.
That was very great. Like he flew off
You know-
the floor to the wall and slid down.
Yeah, This game does really good like fight choreography with their character sprites. There's one at the end of the chapter too, and also with Agate because he's got that big sword and it's really fun to watch his sprite swing it. I don't know why.
It's because it's a big sword.
Yeah, you nailed it, man. I need to stop overthinking this stuff.
There's a reason everybody ends up with a big sword at some point in their lives. It just looks cooler.
So then Agate does the whole "you guys are too close to this thing," and he makes you guys not have the job anymore.
Which I get the whole senior versus junior. The thing that pissed me off was the whole logic of which people were closer.
Yeah.
Because he used to run the gang that's possibly responsible for the fire. How is he any farther away than you, who just met these people yesterday that you seem to like? I don't know. Just saying. Video game logic.
Yeah. No, yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, he's almost as suspicious at that point if you're going to suspect the gang.
But yeah, so they leave there, and because they can't do real work, let's go put them in a play.
Yeah, let's go to school, guys. Which,
Because why not?
Isn't the scariest thing ever from the Super Anime game is like, hey, let's put the characters in school.
Yeah, so that was it ends up being a really long section, but I'm not sure we really want to talk about it. It's a lot of just kind of montage and conversations, and
Well,
I guess,
mean, Estelle gets jealous when Joshua kisses another girl. That's the first time she's kind of honest with herself about that.
yeah. And then the other small thing, which I think is a big thing, but it's a small thing for this, and this kind of, I'd already made this realization before that, but kind of solidified it. I'm really intrigued by gender roles in the game as a whole.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where I say it almost feels like a new game, because you talk about in the last couple of years, like, oh, females can't be in charge of games. That's why only Tomb Raider, because the games won't sell. We have to have all guys. They have a lot of strong female characters in this. With Shara, they have Estelle as the main character. They have mayors. They have people in charge of all sorts of things that are female president for the school council. And they take it one step further for this play of having two females as a knight, a royal, fighting for a fortunate guy who's a girl. But they do a lot of these little things of putting females in roles of power.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Which I thought
Yeah,
was
that is-
very progressive of it.
Yeah, especially 11 years ago, man.
Yeah, which blows my mind. That's where those little things like that, it's like, I forget that this game is that old.
Okay, so we're running a little long. I'm going to kind of summarize the rest of this chapter because some important stuff, like super important stuff, happens. So when you're all done with the play, so they give all the money from the play to the matron so she can go buy a new orphanage, and then she gets mugged on her way back home, and they take all the money, which is a horrible bad thing. And you try to track down the guys who did it, and you get to the lighthouse and you find the ravens, except they're not talking to you and they're really super freakishly strong. So you start beating them up, and you kind of start to realize that they've been brainwashed in the same way that Don Capul was. You get to the top of the tower, and it's like there's two guys in black who are not the ravens, but you get the impression that they've been running the whole show, and they escape with like a sweet grappling hook. But
course.
my impression was that these guys are like reverse bracers. They're like, yeah, they're bracers who do bad stuff for evil villain dudes, and so they're naturally opposed to you.
So, mercenaries?
Yeah. And another fun, weird thing about this, you fight them, and they only do one attack, and it's flicker.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Joshua.
Oh no. Yeah, what does it mean? But no, it means that flicker really sucks to get hit by. Always.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, you get your recommendation for because you do get the money back, and you find out gosh, I can't remember how the revelation comes about the mayor. You realize that he's been the bad dude the whole time, so you, Joshua, and Chloe, you go to confront him about it, and he's actually pitching the vacations homes to the Duke, like right in front of you. And so you call him out on it, and you're like, here's my proof! And he's like, okay, so I have these 2 giant monster dogs, and they're the final boss of the chapter. Deal with that. But after you beat the dogs, he does some amazing spell that paralyzes Estelle and Joshua. And the thing that saves you is the black orbment activates and nullifies the bad spell.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so what is that all about? You know? What do you think?
I'm definitely a lot more interested than I was going into it. Like, some stuff's happening.
Yeah, there's enough there now that there's enough questions that I want to see it through. Same thing with which we actually skipped over, but kind of interspersed during this chapter is the silver-haired man.
Oh yeah.
So there's enough of those kind of like small questions of like they're kind of adding up now. There's enough there that you want to see all of these kind of come to a close.
Yeah, I actually do not remember who the silver-haired man ends up being.
Does anybody have ideas? I have an idea. I think it's stupid.
I got
Get it?
Shoot, go ahead.
I think he's Joshua's father.
Oh.
I want it to end with Star Wars moment of Joshua, I am your father. Cut to black.
That's impossible. Such feelings, Joshua. You know it to be true.
And then there's the oh yeah, by the way, the guys in black at the end of the chapter also report to the masked man from the Valeria fishing trip night.
Yeah.
So he's like the boss of the anti-bracers, it would seem.
Yeah. Which I'm still just sticking with their mercenaries.
I like to call them anti-bracers. Wait, can we call them boots or greaves?
What?
the bruisers.
Greaves?
No, the bruisers.
The bruisers.
The Bruiser Guild.
I do wonder now what they're actually called, but maybe the Blackguard. They all wear black and they take jobs to guard stuff.
I do like the idea though of there being. It was the same thing with Oliver. I like the idea of there actually being other secret or official units of something.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times in these games you'll have multiple countries, districts, kingdoms, whatnot, and just one of those has somebody that's special.
Yep.
And you see them being revered, you see them being very powerful, and then you're like, why didn't the other 10 of you do this? And it, kind of with Oliver, and then also with this group now, it's like everybody's not idiots. They're doing it as well.
Yep.
So it's nice to see for that type of stuff. But then it makes me really hope that Joshua is like a child soldier.
I mean, there was that line he gave Cassius, "Why didn't you leave me for dead?"
Yeah, because it super implies that Joshua basically tried fighting Cassius in some regard. Whether it was like he killed his dad, or like they fought his dad, and like it's one of those like moments like I'm gonna protect my family. But there seems almost to the length that Cassius went to like bring him home and take care of him and raise him. And like he saying like I haven't changed my mind of like almost forgiving you, or you should have left me dead. There's so much there that it's always like there should be some really shady history between the two of them.
Right.
So it like I don't know. There's something there with that. There's something there for a lot of things though. So.
Well, like, man, yeah. Because Joshua was just they build him up really subtly and really sneakily.
Which I think is exciting.
Definitely.
So
Whereas with Oliver, there's just suddenly like, oh yeah, he's really important somewhere else.
Yeah. I think that almost dovetails perfectly to our conversation, so we can wrap this up. Everybody's kind of final thoughts, both on where the story is going, what they think is going to happen, and then also how they feel about the game at the time, like this moment.
Well, I read on our forum thread that someone was saying that Chapter 4 is like almost no side quests, really fast-paced plot.
Good.
And that's kind of how I remember it. It was like revelation after revelation, and the ending was really phenomenal. But like, I'm honestly dying to get there again. With how much I forgot, like I told you guys in the pre-show, pretty much all I remember is when I look at someone's face and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy is secretly evil. Which is like half the people in this game.
Yeah, everybody's kind of bad in some regard. That's why, which we skipped over this too, but the head of the Secret Service for the military.
Richard?
Sure.
I think it was Richard, the sharp-looking dude with the pointer.
Yeah, that he kind of steps in with the special force. He's actually responsible for helping you capture the spy bandit, or the sky bandit, spy bandits.
Are you saying you think he's the mole?
Well, I actually thought it was the general, in all honesty.
Oh yeah,
at the time.
Yeah.
But I realized that
hater.
he's so wrapped up. I don't think it actually is, but it's one of those things that again, he's one of those characters that like I could see very easily that either general or that Secret Service guy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've reached this point. Is I assume everybody's terrible now.
Yeah. Well, one of them's got to be a red herring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they're all red herrings, and it's Cassius.
It's
The literal red herring.
Yeah. So what did you think, Peter?
I'm still up on it. I like where the story's going, or where it seems to be going. Now that like I said earlier, like now that there are more skills open up, my problem with the combat system has more or less been resolved. I'm liking it a lot more. I feel like this wouldn't be a game that I would have been drawn to normally, but I'm glad I'm enjoying it still. I'm curious to see where this goes.
Awesome.
Yeah, like same
Marcos?
deal with me. Like I'm really fascinated by this. Like for me, Chapter 1 really dragged and had me almost regretting starting it. But like just as I kept going with it, I'm really interested in this. I like the story. The battles aren't too painful anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm
that Hay Sports, man.
oh god, it's such a guts, man. I'm so happy for it.
Yeah.
Just walking around.
Which shout out to our forum people for telling us about that.
Yeah, you saved our butts.
Yeah, you saved us so much time and our sanity. Thank you. But no, I'm really looking forward to the next set of chapters and just wrapping this baby up.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go into mine, so you can talk off of that.
Oh no, go ahead with yours. I had like one final thing I want to ask everybody.
Ooh, the ultimate final topic.
Yeah.
So I kind of flip-flopped. I know a couple weeks ago whenever we did the first one, I basically said I hated the story and I love the combat. Kind of flip-flopped on that a little bit. I found the combat to become progressively a little bit more tedious. I like that it is becoming more complex, so it's kind of coming back around for me. But I actually really, really like the story now. There's enough mystery, there's enough going on that I really legitimately want to see how it's going to end. Which kind of terrifies me because I feel like I'm going to be let down because I feel like this is just going to lead into the second one. That's my only fear. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with the story. I'm really happy with the characters, and I'm legitimately excited.
That's actually leads really well into my question because I play a lot of visual novels, and I was wondering if any of you think this game is actually better for having combat, or if it was a visual novel, if it was just a really well-written story.
It's a really interesting question.
But so to talk semantics, at that point, would you rather just be a very interesting anime?
I actually usually prefer visual novels just because I like reading. I like taking things at my own pace a little more.
Okay.
But ultimately, I feel like the game, for sake of being a game, makes itself worse.
But at the very least, like the gameplay systems that are at hand are functional for the most part.
Yeah.
But the main draw is still the story, the characters, and the writing. And to that, I can see where, like, if it was just the story parts, but then I don't know, would we be talking about it in quite the same way? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
It is a really interesting question. It's kind of funny because a lot of times when I think about these questions, I think that the developer would have half-assed a lot of the mechanics, and I almost fall on the other side. I think they almost did too much.
Yeah.
There was too much complexity to the point that it almost not in some ways becomes unenjoyable. I feel like I could see whereas coming through on the second time and really knowing or doing like a new game plus, knowing how everything works, how everything interacts, carrying over your recipes, carrying over some of your items and whatnot, I could see that being fascinating then. Because then you can really nail down into this esoteric elements of the fighting system. So it's kind of funny because a lot of times where I feel like I'd really feel strongly about this is where they just kind of half-ass the whole combat, and it's like it was only a story and it's duct taped together in between. But yeah, absolutely, the story is what shines here. It makes the rest of the game look bad in comparison. I feel like.
I just think maybe more people would have made it over that hump in the beginning if there wasn't so much really slow, like poorly paced combat, slowing it down, along with that opening exposition.
That's fair, because I know for sure my initial impressions would have been a lot stronger if it wasn't for that initial hump, as you said.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if any of our listeners have any feelings about that, that is something I would like to talk about on our boards with you. I'd also like to know if any of you would like to see us play a visual novel for this podcast, which I haven't brought up to any of these guys, so I don't know if they're going to hate me for saying that.
Hey, I might be down, depending on the game.
Oh, I know some good ones.
I'm kind of open to everything right now, so...
Okay.
Although at some point I may convince you guys to let me play through a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Hey, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
You can do Wind Waker.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for episode 1-2 of Retro Encounter. We should be recording again the final episode at the end of the month. And then I don't think we've officially announced this, but the game for June is going to be Final Fantasy X. And then how this is going to work, at least at the beginning, until we get kind of a concrete system, is we're going to try to alternate between games that we kind of had already set up voting for, and then games from the community. So July's game will be based off of kind of your guys' opinions that were posted on the boards. So we'll make sure to play something that you guys wanted. So that's going to do it for now. Until next time.